on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again for episode 14 of the Endgame series. Thank you guys for watching the previous episode, which was the first episode of Phase 3, Captain America Civil War, with Sammy from Samuel One World Reviews. And now we're on to the next film that also came out in 2016. Another film that is a very new character introduced into the MCU. It seemed like it was very controversial going in, but it ended up being pretty awesome for what it was. That is Doctor Strange. Directed by Scott Derrickson, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, or as I like to call him, Benedict Cumberbitch, as Stephen Strange, Doctor Strange. And starring a great cast. Tilda Swinton, Benedict Wong, Mads Mikkelsen as Kaecilius, and so many others. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo. And guys, I have an awesome special guest right here. You may absolutely know this guy. He's one of the veteran favorites from Rotten or Fresh. You guys absolutely love this guy. He always loses to Ren Geekness, unfortunately. But you guys
someday I will win. Someday I will win. I promise that.
He's gonna make a comeback, guys. That is Chandler Langley. Chandler, welcome back to the channel, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I just got out of a really bad cold, but I'm feeling better. Yeah, I really am excited to talk about Doctor Strange because, man, do I think that this movie is so underrated. I'm really getting into wanting to talk about the positive stuff of this movie, man, because I just saw it last night and there's some stuff that I really need to say.
What do you guys think of Doctor Strange? Are you with Chandler? Do you think this is one of the more underrated MCU movies?
Say yes.
Or do you think it's overrated like me? Sorry. But let's have a great discussion about this film, guys, and answer the questions along with us. We want to hear from you guys. So, without further ado, Chandler, let's just get right into the discussion, man. So we have 10 questions. Let's do this. So Chandler, let's start with Doctor Strange. What was your first experience with the movie and the character? Were you familiar with the character from the comics? And I'm sure you saw this opening night, of course, but talk about your experience with Doctor Strange.
Actually, I did see this in theaters, and to be honest, like, this is one of the few movie theatrical experience where I had some annoying audiences members because they, I mean, this was like the first time I saw like a couple of female women. They just like decided to talk over everything. You know, some of those video reactions that you would see on YouTube.com where they just react to everything like, "Oh my God, what is this? It's Ant-Man, it's Doctor Strange!" Like, just, would you please shut up? But so I had to like move over so that I can actually hear what the movie was going on. Other than that, like, the movie itself, I really enjoyed it. And for the crap, what was the other question that you asked me?
Were you familiar with Doctor Strange from the comics?
Oh, no, I didn't. I actually read none of the comic books of Doctor Strange at all. I mean, I'm not really much of a Marvel comics guy. I'm more of a DC comics person, but if it does relate to Marvel comics, I would read like X-Men or Spider-Man. But, you know, with Doctor Strange, I have no idea who he was. There's a lot of great things that they introduced me to what Doctor Strange is like, or what the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe can actually be, and I really did enjoy that. And yeah, for seeing this in theaters, it was definitely an awesome theatrical experience that I really like seeing because, you know, the visuals for probably the best visual experience that I've ever been through when it comes to a Marvel movie. So yeah, definitely, if they've ever had a chance, like years before our time, if they ever decide to release this film again, I'm definitely going to see this in theaters.
Saw this opening night in IMAX 3D. And if you guys did not see this in IMAX 3D, then you did not have the perfect experience. But anyway, this is one of my favorite IMAX 3D experiences of all time. Like you said, the visual effects are some of the best the MCU has ever had. The casting of Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange had me very excited because Benedict Cumberbatch plays an arrogant asshole all the time. So it was perfect.
True. Yeah, it was true.
Perfect for him. And so walking out the first time I saw this movie, I really enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I didn't love it like many of the top MCU films like Civil War, Infinity War, or Winter Soldier. But still, there were some cool things about the film, and I rewatched it again leading up to Infinity War, and my enjoyment of it went down a little bit. This is one of my more overrated MCU movies because the character is awesome, but the whole movie in general doesn't work from many perspectives, which I'll dive into. And then rewatching it again a couple nights ago leading up to Endgame, I have the same things, but I appreciate this film for what it is and what it did differently compared to other MCU films for sure. Chandler, let's go to the second question now. If Benedict Cumberbatch was never cast as Doctor Strange, who else do you think could have played the character really well?
Oh, man, I don't think that any other actor would have played it really well because I am a huge Cumberbatch fan. But definitely when he played the character, there's something about Benedict Cumberbatch whenever I see him, he just makes everything interesting. There's just, he does try to play off an American accent, and I didn't buy it for a second because he's definitely not American. There's something about the way he reads his lines or how he's just so energetic or how he just tries to make everything so interesting. He's just that awesome of an actor. So I don't think I have like another actor that would be able to replace him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Benedict Cumberbatch was perfectly cast in the role of Doctor Strange for sure. He has the arrogance, he has the humor, and he has the wit and the charisma to play a character like Doctor Strange. But there were some rumors, of course, going into the film of of what people wanted to see play Doctor Strange, and Joaquin Phoenix was one of them. Leonardo DiCaprio was another. And Benedict Cumberbatch. Those were the top three I saw. Yeah, I could see Joaquin Phoenix playing this role, but honestly, he'd never take a role like this.
Yeah, not really. He's not playing the Joker.
So he's the Joker. So
we no longer have a problem with that.
The first Doctor Strange, this one in particular, I didn't fully resonate with the character until Infinity War. He was badass in Infinity War.
He was awesome in Infinity War.
Absolutely. He was the best character in Infinity War, in my opinion, for the
bigger
heroes.
MVPs in that movie.
Obviously, Thanos is my favorite, but the heroes. Yeah.
Of course.
But anyway, so we both agree Benedict Cumberbatch is Doctor Strange. What was your first reaction to the announcement that Doctor Strange is the next film in the MCU? Because they made this announcement at the Phase 3 announcement panel at some place. I watched that whole video. But what was your first reaction, Chandler? Like, all right, we're going to get a Doctor Strange movie.
I was curious, but I wasn't excited because I wasn't familiar with the character. But I was definitely curious because, just saying the name Doctor Strange is probably something new and interesting that you can get with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because, with Marvel characters, you usually get the typical, I don't want to say cliche because it's kind of like I'm downgrading those characters like Captain America or Spider-Man or like the Incredible Hulk or like Iron Man, Thor, all of those characters. I mean, they're awesome characters and I really enjoy those characters, but they're not characters that feel, how do I say it, different to anything that you would regularly see to a comic book film. Doctor Strange, saying that name makes you feel like that you're experiencing something totally different.
My first reaction, finding out, very curious, absolutely, I was just like, really? What would this work for an MCU film? Like an arrogant asshole gets in a car accident, his hands break, and now he has to learn how to fix his hands and become a sorcerer supreme magician in the MCU. I'm like, okay, this I cannot see this working at all. We're in Phase 3 for feck's sake. How could this Doctor character work? But then, some parts of it really did work, and the arrogance and the funny comedic scenes with Doctor Strange I will get to the humor in a little bit. I don't think this is not one of the funniest MCU films, but the character really worked in the MCU, and it's because of Benedict Cumberbatch. He carries this whole entire film on his shoulder. And there was a lot of controversy with the casting of the Ancient One, Tilda Swinton.
Yeah. I think that if we're going to get to her in a minute, there's definitely some stuff that I could say about her that I'm more on the positive side about. Like, absolutely. Yeah, but like you said, with the about how Marvel usually does these things where they are formulaic, and you've seen these stories before, and they had this thing where they take in characters that you're not necessarily sure if they are going to work in a Marvel movie, but somehow they found a way to work. Like Thor, you thought that movie was not going to work, but it turns out it did. And there's also another movie like Ant-Man. Like, really, we're going to get that one? That was probably the least interesting one that I definitely had no point
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy, again. And again, look at what happened to those movies. And this movie, Doctor Strange. And they found a way to make it work. So, yeah, I think at that point, I wasn't really that nervous because I was thinking, you know what, Marvel's going to find a way to make this work. So, and yeah, maybe it probably won't because, you know, it is something different. But again, this was at a point where Marvel was they just kept doing so many good movies. Like this was like this was before Captain America: Civil War came out, and that movie just freaking blew me away. They were like at this point where they can actually just do movies that are so awesome.
Who was your favorite? Let's go right to the side cast. Who was your favorite side character in the film?
Oh man, I love the side characters. That's another positive thing that I really liked about this movie. These side characters are so enjoyable. I don't want to choose between them. I can go one by one between all of them. Christine was probably my least favorite, but I still like her. Like, maybe it's just because of the actress, and I like
Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, she definitely brought in some good personality to the character, but she was not necessarily, she was just basically there to be the love interest for Doctor Strange. Mordo was definitely a good side character, but maybe they could have done a little bit more with him. Wong was very funny to me. I really like that guy.
I love Wong. Wong's good.
Yeah, Wong is definitely a very fun character, and I really liked it whenever they he pretty much reacts to some of the jokes that, really don't work in the movie. But every time I see his reaction to Doctor Strange, and he's just like, he just has like a stale face and just telling him that he is just so unfunny. It's, oh man, I just love that guy. I might have to go with the Ancient One because there's something about this character, the Ancient One, where, and I think the actress does a fantastic job. I didn't have a problem with her. Yeah, Tilda Swinton does a fantastic job as the Ancient One because she has this smile or some kind of crooked look with her mouth where she's been through so much pain and agony or some kind of suffering, but she's learned to cope with it. And she delivered in so many great things that to this character that was so mysterious, that was so sympathetic, and gave other characters a lot of empathy. And I saw her story where she was like, she just delivers in so many great stuff, and I really enjoyed that one. So I say the Ancient One is my favorite.
Definitely the Ancient One's my favorite out of all the side characters. Her character was really interesting from the start. She has a story with the main villain, Kaecilius, a former protege student of hers. He turns on her and becomes an evil wizard, Dark Lord. And so that story was really interesting. And her character was the more complex one out of the side characters because she is not a perfect person. And the big spoiler here is she takes powers from the dark dimension. And yeah, that was really interesting layer to her character. Unfortunately, she died. So that was unfortunate for sure, but still the character was really interesting.
And I guess that's why I'm so much more positive about this movie than you. But the movie just really likes to dive into a lot about how people's darker demons are very hard to overcome, and she understands that kind of aspect.
Now let's talk about our favorite scene. Chandler, if you could just pick one scene, what's your favorite?
Doctor Strange has plenty of awesome moments. I mean, there's definitely tons that you could go ahead and pick throughout the entire film. But if I had to choose one, I would definitely have to say it's when Doctor Strange meets the Ancient One for the very first time. It keeps getting arrogant and in her face about how there's no such thing as spirit. And then all of a sudden, you get to see the Ancient One having Doctor Strange project himself into other tons of multiverses, and you see he gets to fly through other dimensions. It's so colorful, it's like weird and incredible. There's like the scene where he has like tons of hands and his other fingers had hands for hands for hands for hands, and then you get to see, like, I mean, it's just like there's so much in that one moment that just explains a ton, and it's so freaking incredible. Like, he flies through space and there's a butterfly and he touches it and he just goes like, whoa! It's just It's amazing.
My favorite scene is the opening scene. The opening scene is my favorite scene by far. It introduces Kaecilius and his zealots, and this librarian guy, he gets his head chopped off.
Oh,
That's the most brutal death in the entire
guy.
MCU. Poor guy.
What if he
Like
was
the action is so brutal in this movie. It's that opening scene.
They decapitated him. Like his head cut off.
Like shit. Anyway, yeah, I always love this scene because it gets right to the action. You see the Ancient One and Kaecilius, and they're going through different things. They're going through different portals, and then it culminates into this wall action sequence straight out of Inception. The visuals are incredible.
It's awesome.
She does these magic tricks, and then they're on the wall now, and they're fighting on the wall. Like, it's such a badass action.
It's
sequence.
Awesome.
It's awesome because it sets you. It builds right into the film, and I think that's the most original action scene I've seen in an MCU film by far. Now let's talk about the tough tasks. Your least favorite scene, because oh man, I have a couple.
My least favorite scene. I talk like so many positives about this film. I keep on thinking like, what are my negatives?
What is bad?
I mean, well, if I would have to say what are my least favorite, it's probably whenever they tried to do like some of the jokes in this film. I mean, I guess like the moment where went over to Wong in the library, and he kept on trying to reference all of these musicians, and then
try me, Beyonce.
That's the one. That's the one freaking line that. That's like the one freaking line that I just didn't like. I was like, really?
Oh my god,
you're trying too hard, dude. So yeah, if I could come up with another scene, I'll probably say it. But yeah, so far that's my least favorite.
Yeah, and then it ends with a really stupid one, and then he finally laughs. Ha 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 ha.
I actually
like
that one.
I didn't like it.
Like that scene.
No, I didn't like. It's part of the recycled humor that I can't stand in movies. They take the same joke over and over again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's kind of annoying.
So, any least favorite scene of mine has to do with Rachel McAdams' character. She was totally wasted in the film. The opening scene of her was fine. Yeah, constantly having to go back to her and all that. I need help. I need help. I need help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything with that. All the humor in this film mostly does not work for me. The Wong stuff didn't work for me. And the Rachel McAdams character in particular. It just did not work for me. Any humor scene is my least favorite.
I actually like the character. I like her, and even though I would say that she is probably wasted, some of the humor in here does work a little bit for me. Like the scene where Stephen Strange was going into the astral dimension, and he has to fight one of the other zealots, and they're just like in this other dimension, and sometimes like random things are moving whenever Rachel McAdams doesn't see them actually fighting, and it's just like a lamp flickering or whatever. And then once Stephen Strange made a portal and went back into the one of the sanctums, there's like this broom that just accidentally falls over, and then she just was like, ah! And I don't know. I guess that one was kind of funny to me.
Well, now let's talk about the villain, Kaecilius, played by Mads Mikkelsen. What is your opinion on him? Is he awesome or just forgettable?
He's definitely one of the weaker parts of the movie. It's Kaecilius and also Dormammu. They're not necessarily memorable villains. I heard that Dormammu is not even supposed to look like that. He was supposed to have like he's supposed to be a guy that has like his head on fire or something. I don't know.
What was that?
I don't know, but Kaecilius had a little bit of a reason why he's doing what he's doing, and again, it's not necessarily anything new, like, oh, you wants like power and all that stuff, and Dormammu is just a guy that's wanting all of the darkness and the dark dimension and all that stuff, blah, 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 and yeah, that's pretty much the weakest part of the villain. Crap, I forgot the actor's name.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen, okay. Mads Mikkelsen, I would say he does fine as a character, but he doesn't deliver in anything that great that would make the character memorable. It's just like straightforward. He doesn't really bring anything else interesting except, you know, just being the guy that has a reason to be with Dormammu, and that's it.
One of my least favorite MCU villains, really generic, very wasted, and very boring. His backstory could have been interesting, but it just goes into generic territory. All right, we know what he wants. He wants to gain power and all that, and he hates the Ancient One, and so he wants to bring power and darkness. Chandler, let's talk about the 2 end credit scenes, the scene where he's sitting down with Thor and with Mordo. What's your, of course, let's just talk about Mordo scene in particular. Why do you think Mordo made this change to the dark side? What was it about that character you want him to be more interesting?
Well, actually, I like Mordo because he is he's a character that has followed the Ancient One for a very long time and has decided to follow along by the rules. And according to, like, you know, with the spiritual feelings, it's not just by the law that you have to feel, it's also with, like, relationships and all that stuff. You have to really like the character and understand the type of things that they have to do in order to do the greater good. But with Mordo, he's always looking at things logically and looking at the rules, and he's such a nice character, and he's really charismatic and all that stuff. And he's definitely a character I really would like to see more fleshed out, because they don't necessarily give enough time to have them be established to the other stuff that they could have done with this character. If they did do that after credits scene, then I would have really liked it, because, you know, where they left it off at the end of the film, I liked, because he's going his separate ways, and he felt like that he's been betrayed by the Ancient One. He has no idea where he's going to go. But then they decided to show this after credits scene that he's now going to be an automatic villain, and I felt like that it just cut off a lot of what they could have done with this character, because they didn't really give enough time to establish how he could have been a villain.
And Chiwetel Ejiofor, fantastic in the role. And he just starts, he has his morals, he has his reasons, he believes so much in the light side. He's with the Ancient One at the start, and the first thing he tells automatically to Stephen Strange is, forget everything that you ever know. And so he did not even know that the Ancient One was using dark powers to survive and all that. And so that really hurts him, because he trusted the Ancient One, and now to save the end of the day in the battle at the end, he's just like, well, you don't think there's going to be consequences, Strange, for all of this? I can no longer follow this path. And that's an interesting layer to the character. He goes to being a villain at the end, but yeah, he just did nothing at the end with the end credit scene, because it's building him up to be potentially the next villain in Doctor Strange 2, which I hope that happens. Where does Doctor Strange rank in your MCU ranking? There's 20 films. Where would this land for you?
For me, it would probably be somewhere in the top 10. Mostly because if I would...
Wow.
Yeah, I know that's probably shocking to most people, honestly. If I were to rank it, this is coming like at the top of my head, I would say like Infinity War is at top. Second would be Winter Soldier. Third would be Civil War. I go back and forth with those two. I mean, I don't know. The fourth one might be Avengers. I don't know. Fifth one, Iron Man, I think. No, wait. Fourth one would probably be Black Panther. Yeah, fourth one's Black Panther. Fifth one would be the Avengers. Sixth one is probably Iron Man. And then the seventh one, I think I would put Doctor Strange right there. So it's probably at like number 7 if I'm to rank him right now. But this is coming like at the top of my head. If I were to like really study and really talk about what it is that how I want to rank these, I would. It's probably somewhere along that line, but again, can't confirm it that big.
Wow. I see this film in people's top 10s. I'm like, really? I think there's better MCU films, but for me, Doctor Strange lies at number 15. 15 or 14 for me. Yeah. I think First Avenger is better. I think Thor Ragnarok is better. I think Ant-Man 1 and 2 are better. I think Guardians 2 is better.
Dang.
And Homecoming too. How will Doctor Strange, this film, affect the Endgame? After all, Doctor Strange says, we're in the Endgame now.
Oh man, I definitely have a lot to say about this one in terms of like if it's Doctor Strange the character himself, or is this like other characters that are surrounded in the Doctor Strange movie, or if it's just like some of the themes that they have with Doctor Strange in the end game. I mean, there's so many opportunities that they have to completely put it into the end game series. So I'm gonna try and do this like as fast as I can because it's like, oh man, I got a good bit. The first one that I would have to say, if it's like Doctor Strange the character, technically, I don't think the characters that turned into dust are dead. I don't think that they're technically dead. I mean, yeah, their whole body's like turned into ashes. You don't see them anymore, and you definitely have that crying moment with Spider-Man when he went like, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. Maybe their body is truly gone, but their soul can still live. And I think that the characters that vanish into thin air can still go into the astral dimension because their souls can still be alive. And plus, Thanos is the one that can control the gauntlet, and I don't think that he can technically kill these people. He can definitely kill these people off from Earth, but their souls can still be alive in another dimension. The second thing on how they can probably take how Doctor Strange can tie into the Endgame series is that there are 3 sanctums. One is put in London, the other one is in Hong Kong, the other one is in New York. And the one in Hong Kong, I think that's the one that that Wong is at. I think Wong is the one that's in Hong Kong because
Wong's in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and I don't think that he's dead. Thanos said that he said that Wong was officially dead, or in Infinity War he said, "So I took it that Wong is dead, right?" I think he said that line in the movie.
No, he said, "I take it the Maw is dead, Ebony Maw."
Oh, okay.
Ebony
so technically, Wong is not dead. I confused myself with another.
Yeah,
line,
I don't think he's dead either.
Yeah, so technically, Wong is not dead. He's still alive, and he's still at the Sanctum. And the Sanctum is the one that is supposed to protect any kind of dark dimension or any kind of living force that is trying to attack the world and protect it. So they're going to try and do something with that along the lines of like one of the 3 sanctums in Hong Kong, and Wong can actually be there to help out with the Avengers and do something with that. So maybe that can be a really good tease that they can do for Endgame. The third one, and this will probably be my last one, on how they can actually get the Endgame series tied in from Doctor Strange is they have multiverses. Doctor Strange is actually the first Marvel movie to introduce multiverses. They can probably go to another multiverse and get other characters from that universe and come into the real world on whatever universe the Avengers are at, and try to gather people to come in and help them out with the Endgame series. Or maybe they could get like Captain Marvel, she probably knows something from another dimension. I mean, I don't know how Captain Marvel's universe works, but it's definitely, they could try to gather like other characters from other universes and tie them into this universe and have them try a way for them to team up and attack Thanos and make it somewhat interesting. So yeah, definitely there's a lot of possibilities that you can tie in when it comes to the movie Doctor Strange, or Doctor Strange, the character himself, and tie it into Endgame.
Wow, that's an excellent theory, Chandler.
I definitely had a lot.
Yeah. So how will Doctor Strange affect the Endgame? Well, you got to look at the character of Doctor Strange. He saw 14,605,000 possibilities of how they can beat Thanos. And so you got to look at the character. He turned to dust at the end. He said, we're in the Endgame now. And so Doctor Strange has so many abilities as well. He knows how to use multi-dimensions. He has the time stone. They can use the time stone a lot to save their friends and all that. And Thanos as well. Like, he could definitely beat Thanos as well as Captain Marvel. But you got to look at Wong in particular. Wong could still be alive. We don't know if he turned to dust or not. And
exactly.
Wong has control of the Sanctum, the Sanatorium, whatever it's called.
Yes, it's Sanctum.
The Sanctum. So he can use that, of course, to travel to these different dimensions. You could use the mirror dimension as well to protect yourself from the outside world. And oh my God,
I think Doctor Strange tried to do that with Thanos one time when they were like in space fighting, and Thanos pretty much just went with his gauntlet and backfired against Doctor Strange. But
also, he has an alternate. Yes, he has an alternate body as well. He has an alternate body if he's passed out or dead or anything like that. And it's really cool what you could do with this character. And it's going to all come down to time and all that, and how it's going to play a factor of saving the heroes, the Avengers all together. And Doctor Strange and Wong can have a major impact. So guys, those were the answers to our questions for Doctor Strange. So again, in the comment section below, what are your guys' answers to these questions? What's your theory about how Doctor Strange will affect the Endgame? Do you have something completely different that we're not thinking of? We want to hear that down below in the comment section. So write whatever you have down below.
Yeah.
And Chandler, thank you so much, man, for joining the Endgame series and talking about it with me, man. This was such a blast. And Chandler, real quickly, tell my subscribers where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on youtube.com and just search up Chandler's videos. I'm actually creating a brand new podcast, which is called the Marvel and DC Fanboy Podcast, where me and my friend Nathan actually talk about all of the awesome stuff that is from both universes. We're not putting them against each other. We're not saying Marvel versus DC. We're talking about how both of those universes are awesome and why I'm so happy that we're alive today and witnessing so many Marvel and DC comic book movies to this freaking day. Just, oh man, and it's so awesome. And Ryan, if you and Cody would like to go on to this podcast and be a special guest and just talk about it.
Invite me now! I'm just kidding. That'd be awesome, man. I'm just...
Definitely. If you would like to come on as a guest, man, I would love to have you on. But yeah, it's on youtube.com, and type in Chandler's videos, and you can type in that podcast, or just type in Chandler's videos review or something like that. And yeah, I would like for you guys to come on by.
Our next episodes we have coming up, guys, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, a very controversial MCU film. And joining me for that is, you absolutely know who that guy is, Zach Pope. He will be joining me for Guardians 2. And then we have Spider-Man Homecoming. It was originally going to be Cody Curtis, but unfortunately, Cody had to drop out because he's taking a break from YouTube. Instead, I have a new guest. Joining me for Spider-Man Homecoming is Chandler's archenemy, Ren Geekness.
Oh, I thought you were about to say my name.
Ren Broken Geekness. Ren will be joining me for Spider-Man Homecoming, so look forward to that. Guardians 2 and Homecoming. That is
Ren Geekness!
He's calling you out, Ren. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode in the Endgame series. If you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to Chandler Langley. His channel links will be in the description below, and to the channel as well right here for more content. All my social media links are in the description down below. Click that notification bell on your way out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! Bye!
Bye!